In this video, I am going to show you how to do 4 more of the Math ACT problems. Let's take a look at this one right here. So it says if 4x plus 6y is 28 and then 6x 5y, then the product of x and y is equal to which of the following? Okay, so here we have two equations and two unknowns. So we should be able to find out what x is, find out what y is, and then come up with the product. Okay, so here we have 4x plus 6y is 28. And then the other one is 6x is 5y. In order to come up with x, you have to know what y is, right? In order to come up with y, you have to know what x is. Now we can either solve this for x or solve it for y and then substitute it into the x or the y up top. So if you were to do that, you would end up with fraction, and you know it's a lot harder to work with fraction than just an integer. Right, 4x plus 6y is 28. You can make this equation easier to work with by dividing by 2, right? Because 2 is the greatest common factor. So if I divide this by 2, divide this by 2, divide this by 2, I'll get 2x plus 3y is 14. If you compare the 6x with the 2x, I mean, is there a way that I can make the 2x turn into a 6x? Yeah, I can do that. If I multiply 2x by 3, I'll get 6x. And then with that, you can replace the 6x with the 5y. So we're going to go ahead and do it like that. So I am going to multiply this by 3. So I end up with having 6x plus 9y is 3 times 14. That is going to be 42. And now look, I can substitute what 6x is for this 6x, right? Well, what is 6x? 6x is the same as 5y. So I can replace the 6x with 5y. And then plus 9y is 42. And then I'll solve for y to come up with y. So here I have 14y is 42. Divide by 14. So y is 3. So y is 3. Okay, so we found y, but it says to find the product of x and y. So we need to know what x is. And you can do that by substitute the y in here because we have y, right? Y is 3. So that would be 6x equals to 5 times 3. Okay, so over here I'm going to do 6x is 5 times 3. So that would be 6x is 15. Okay, and then divide by 6. So your x is 15 over 6. Okay, and then now we have to find the product of the two numbers. So we need to take x times y, so that is 15 over 6 times 3 over 1. Cross out the 3 and the 6, make it a 1 over 2. So end up having 15 over 2. Well, 15 over 2 is the same as 7 1/2, or 7.5. Okay, so your product of x and y is 7.5. And then here we would pick K for the correct answer. At how many points will the circle defined by the equation x plus 3 squared plus y take away 5 squared is 18 intersect the x-axis or the y-axis in the xy coordinate plane? Okay, so we wanted to know how many times does the graph, the given graph, intersects the x-axis and the y-axis. So you are given an equation of a circle in standard form. So here's the equation, x plus 3 square plus y take away 5 square is 18. From this equation, we can find out what the center of the circle is. So the center will be the opposite of positive 3 for the x-coordinate. So that would be negative 3. And for the y-coordinate, it would be opposite of negative 5. So that would be positive 5. And the 18 is the radius square. Okay, so the radius square is the 18. Okay, so this number here is r squared. Okay, so we're going to make a simple sketch to see when the graph crosses the x-axis and the y-axis. So here is the xy coordinate plane. All right, so the horizontal is the x-axis and the vertical is the y-axis. Okay, so here we have a center. So we're going to sketch the circle. So the center is at negative 3, 5. Okay, so here's the center of the circle. So I'm going to estimate what the radius is since I do not have a calculator to work with here. So if my radius square was to be 16, for example, 16 is close to 18, then my radius would be 4, right? Because you got to take square root of 16. Now, if the radius square was to be 25, right? I picked 25 because that's the next perfect square after 18. So then my radius here would be 5. 18 is between 4 and 5. So here my center is at negative 3, 5. So if I count down a little bit over 4, it'll be 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'll be right here. Okay, it's not going to get all the way to the x-axis because that would be 5. So here I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then 5, so it'll be over here. So my circle would be something like that, right? I know it's not even close to being a circle, all the crooked line here, but okay, but you can see that the graph of a circle crosses the x-axis and the y-axis. So it crosses right here. So cross the y-axis at this point, and then cross the y-axis again at this point, but it never crosses the x-axis. So there's only 2 times that it's going to cross the x-axis or the y-axis, right? One time there, and then another one there. So go back here, and you're going to pick H, because it's 2, for the correct answer. Given that sine theta is 1/2, and that theta is between pi over 2 and pi, what is the value of cosine theta? So for this problem, I would make a sketch of a unit circle. I would draw the unit circle. Okay, so this is 0. This up here is pi over 2. And then if you go all the way up here, this would be pi. And then here would be 3 pi over 2. And then you go back to 2 pi. Okay, so 0, and then you go back to 2 pi. Now we want theta to be between pi over 2 and pi. So pi over 2 and then pi, so it's in this quadrant right here. Okay, so I would make a reference triangle. Okay, so here's the right triangle, so this is theta. Now, in order to find the value of cosine theta, you need to know your trig ratios. There is a phrase that you can use to help you remember the trig ratio. It is called SOHCAHTOA. Okay, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. And then cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent. Okay, again, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So we're given that sine theta is 1/2. So this is given to us. Okay, so we know that sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse. So the 1 is the opposite side, and then the 2 is the hypotenuse. So we go back here, we can label the 1 and the 2, right? So theta is here. So opposite is 1, so the 1's going to be here. Hypotenuse, that's the side that's opposite from the right angle, so that side is here. Okay, so here we're looking for cosine, and the ratios for cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, so to find cosine theta, you need to do adjacent over hypotenuse. We have the hypotenuse, but we're missing the adjacent side, so we got to find this side right here. So this is the adjacent side. Okay, since we're working with a right triangle and we know 2 sides, we can use the Pythagorean theorem to come up with the third side. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared is c squared. So we can go 1 squared plus b squared. We're looking for the other sides of the leg. And then the hypotenuse, we know it's 2 squared. Okay, and then we're going to solve for b here. So 1 squared is 1, plus b squared is 4. Take away 1. Okay, so b, so this is gone. So b squared is 3. So I'm going to move up here. B squared is 3. And then we take the square root of it. So b is going to be plus or minus square root of 3, but we're only going to use the square root of 3. Okay, so this is what b is. This is the adjacent side. And we're going to label this side right here, the adjacent side, as square root of 3. Well, we're going to make it negative square root of 3 because on this side of the x-axis, it's a negative number, right? So that would be negative square root of 3. So now to come up with cosine would be adjacent. Adjacent is negative square root of 3. So here we go negative square root of 3 all over hypotenuse. And that is 2. And this is cosine theta. So over here, the correct answer is G. Okay, it says an equilateral triangle and a square have the same perimeter if the length of one side of the square is 12, what is the area of the triangle? So for this problem, I'm going to make a quick sketch. So I have an equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangle are the triangle with 3 equal sides. So this is an equilateral triangle. And then I have a square, which telling you that the length of one side of the square is 12. So if this is 12, this is 12, this is 12, this is 12. So that means the perimeter of the square is 48. Because you got 12 plus 12 plus 12 plus 12. Okay, that is 48. It's also telling us that an equilateral triangle have the same perimeter. So the perimeter for this triangle, right, is 48. Now it has 3 sides. So if you divide this by 3, because all sides are the same, it's going to come out to 16, right? So each one is 16. So this is 16, this is 16, this is 16. Okay, and then we're looking for what is the area of the triangle. So I'm going to draw the triangle again down here, a much bigger triangle, so we can work with it a lot easier. Okay, so here's the equilateral triangle. So this is 16, this is 16, and then this is 16. Okay, so we're looking for the area of this triangle. And to get the area, it's 1/2 base times height. Okay, so according to this triangle, we have the base, but we need to get the height, right? Because this is an equilateral triangle, where all 3 sides are the same, that means we know that these angles are the same. These angles are going to be 60 degree, 60 degree, 60 degree. Because these add up to 180 to make a triangle. We can split up the 60 into 30 and 30. So one of the angle is going to be 30 degree. So if I split up the triangle, half of the triangle will look like this, right? So that means this is 60 degree. This here would be 30 degree. And then you got a 90 degree here. Okay, so the hypotenuse here is 16. And this whole thing is 16. So we can split it up into 8 and 8. Okay, because this is 30, this is 30. So you can do that. I have a special right triangle here. I have a 30, 60, 90 triangle, which is a special right triangle. So a model for a 30, 60, 90 degree, it's going to be like this. The side that's opposite from the 30 degree, if we call it X, the side that's opposite from the 60 is going to be what X is times square root of 3. And then the hypotenuse is double from the side that is opposite from the 30 degree. So as you can see, the 8 here is opposite from 30 degree. So that means the side that's opposite from 60 degree is going to be square root of 3 longer than the side that is opposite from the 30 degrees. So this is going to be 8 square root of 3. And then the hypotenuse is double the side that is opposite from the 30 degrees. So double 8 is 16. So that makes sense. Okay, so now look, we have the height. So now we can plug it in to the formula for area of a triangle. We can plug in the base and the height to come up with the area. So 1/2 base height, 1/2. Your base is going to be 16, right? So the base is 16. And then the height is going to be 8 square root of 3. like this is multiply, so you can multiply in whichever order. So half of 16 is 8, right? Half of 16 here is going to give you 8. 8 times 8 is 64. So be 64 and then square root of 3. Okay, so this is the area of the triangle. Then we go back up here to the question. And here we would pick K for the correct answer. So K it is.